Let's tackle one of the very first things CompTIA wants you to understand on the Security Plus 701 exam, and it is something that trips people up far more than it should. We are talking about technical security controls. By the end of this video, you will be able to look at any scenario question and instantly recognize whether the control in front of you belongs in the technical category, and just as importantly, you'll know how to rule out the categories that look tempting but are wrong. Objective 1.1 asks you to compare and contrast various types of security controls. CompTIA breaks controls down along two different lines at the same time, and this is the part that confuses people. There is the category of a control, and there is the type of a control. The four categories are technical, managerial, operational, and physical. The types are preventive, deterrent, detective, corrective, compensating, and directive. Today we are zeroing in on the technical category because once you have technical locked down, the other three categories become much easier to separate out by contrast. So what is a technical control? In plain language, a technical control is a safeguard that is implemented and enforced by technology rather than by a person. The system itself does the work. You will sometimes hear technical controls called logical controls, and that second name is a gift, because logical points you straight at the idea that this is something running inside hardware, software, or firmware. If a computer, a piece of code, an appliance, or a configuration is the thing carrying out the protection, you are looking at a technical control. The cleanest mental test I can offer you is to ask yourself one question. Who or what is doing the enforcing? If the answer is a machine executing rules, it is technical. If the answer is a written policy that lives in a binder, it is managerial. If the answer is a human being carrying out a routine, it is operational. If the answer is something in the physical world that stops a body from moving through space, it is physical. That single question, who or what enforces this, will carry you through a huge number of exam items. Now let's review some examples you might experience on the exam. A firewall is the textbook technical control. It is software or an appliance evaluating traffic against a rule set and allowing or denying it automatically, with no human in the loop at the moment of decision. Antivirus and anti-malware software is technical because the engine scans and quarantines on its own. Encryption is technical because the algorithm transforms the data whether or not anyone is watching. Intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems are technical. Access control lists on a router or a file system are technical. Multi-factor authentication enforced by a system is technical. Account lockout settings, password complexity enforced by the operating system, screensavers that lock automatically, security configurations applied through group policy, all technical. The common thread never changes. The technology is the enforcer. Here is where the exam gets clever and where you earn your points. CompTIA will deliberately place a control next to its category in a way that feels right, but is actually testing whether you know the difference between the control and the policy that describes it. Consider a password policy. If the question describes a document that states employees must use strong passwords, that is managerial because it is a written rule. But if the question describes the system rejecting a weak password and forcing a longer one, that is technical because the system is enforcing it. Same subject, password strength, but the category flips depending on whether a human wrote a rule or a machine is carrying it out. Train your eye to catch that pivot. Let me walk you through how this looks in a live question. Imagine the scenario says, a security administrator configures the company firewall to block all inbound traffic on a specific port. Which category of control is this? Walk the test. Who is enforcing the block in the moment? The firewall, a machine, running a rule. That is technical, and you can confidently eliminate managerial, operational, and physical. The fact that an administrator set it up does not make it managerial, and this is the trap. A human configures almost every technical control at some point. The configuration step is not what determines the category. What determines the category is what carries out the protection during normal operation. The firewall does that on its own, so it is technical. Let me give you a second scenario to harden the skill. The question says, The organization deploys full disk encryption on all company laptops. Category: encryption is performed by the system, the algorithm runs without a person, the protection is enforced by technology. Technical. Now contrast that with a question that says, the organization publishes a policy requiring all laptops to be encrypted. That is managerial, because now we are describing the written requirement, not the mechanism. Notice how CompTIA can build two completely different correct answers out of the same underlying topic just by changing whether they describe the rule or the enforcement. Your job is to read carefully and identify which one they handed you. There is one more layer worth your attention, because the exam blends the category with the type. Remember, technical is a category. A single technical control can also have a type. A firewall blocking traffic is a technical control that is preventive in type. An intrusion detection system that alerts you to suspicious traffic is a technical control that is detective in type. A system that automatically restores a file from backup is a technical control that is corrective in type. So when a question asks specifically for the category, do not get distracted by the type, and when it asks for the type, do not answer with the category. Read the stem precisely. The question will tell you which axis it wants. Let me hand you the elimination strategy you should run on every controls question. First, identify the actor. Pin down exactly what is doing the protecting in the scenario. Second, match the actor to the category. Machine means technical. Written rule means managerial. Person performing a routine means operational. Physical barrier means physical. Third, watch for the configuration trap, where a human sets up a technical control and the question tries to bait you toward managerial. Fourth, separate category from type if the question is asking for one and feeding you clues about the other. Run those 4 steps and technical controls stop being a guessing game. A few final clues that almost always signal technical on the exam. Words like configure, deploy, enable, enforce, and automatically, when attached to software, firmware, or an appliance, are strong technical indicators. Mentions of firewalls, encryption, antivirus, IDS, IPS, access control lists, authentication systems, and security settings are technical until proven otherwise. And if the scenario describes protection happening with no human present at the moment it matters, that is the signature of a technical control. Let me leave you with the one sentence that captures everything. A technical control is enforced by the technology itself. Hold on to that, run the who or what is enforcing this test, and stay alert for the configuration trap, where a human sets something up but the machine does the work. Do that, and the technical controls questions on the SY0 701 exam become some of the easiest points on your entire test. If this helped clarify technical controls for you, subscribe so you catch the rest of this How to Spot series, where we take the trickiest exam objectives one at a time and turn them into reliable points. I will see you in the next one.